All right, everybody, here we are with another homework problem. It's a little bit different than some of the stuff we looked at. And so this problem asks us about, it doesn't actually give us equations. And that's why this problem's a little bit different, right? But it tells us that h of x is the composition of f and g, even though we don't know everything about f and g. These are the things that we know up here. And it asks us for some facts about h. The first thing it asks us to find is h of 4. Right? So to do that, we could just kind of start by writing down what do we know about h of 4. Well, h of 4 is equal to, like it says over here, it's equal to f of g of 4. And this is actually just a chapter 1 problem. This is just a composition of functions problem, right? So we need to know what g of 4 is. So we go, this is the first thing we have to do. It's in the innermost parentheses. It tells us g of 4 is equal to 2. So that tells us that instead of g of 4, we can write 2. So this is equal to f of 2. And then we can come up here and say, oh, you know what? F of 2, it tells me that that's equal to 1. And so that's going to be my answer for h of 4. Now h prime of 4, if h is the same thing, how do I figure out what h prime is? So what's h prime of x? Well, it's the composition of functions, and so this is actually going to be a chain rule problem, right? Remember when we see something like d over dx of f, this is how it's usually written, right? D over dx of f of g of x. This is equal to f prime of g of x. You do the derivative of the outer part, and then you multiply that by g prime of x. So with this problem, that means f prime, well, and so it's of, not of x, we're doing of 4 here. So it's f prime of g of 4. We're just following the chain rule problem. Go back to that section if this formula does not look familiar, and then we multiply that by g prime of 4, just like here. And so we're just going to come up to the table and look everything up. So we know g prime of 4 is equal to 6, and then we know that g of 4 is equal to 2. So that's f prime of 2. Instead of g of 4, I'm writing 2 times 6, and f prime of 2 we can see is 5. So we get 5 times 6 is equal to 30. All right, and one last one. It tells us, it changes what h is this time. It says h is f divided by g, and wants us to find h prime of 4. So h prime of 4, instead of following the chain rule this time, we're going to be following the formula we learned from this section, which is just the quotient rule, right? So if you go back up to those slides, you'll see that taking the derivative of a quotient, you'll get f prime of 4 times g of 4, not x, g of 4, and then minus f of 4 times g prime of 4. The bottom comes second, and then this is all divided by g of 4, that whole quantity squared. Okay, and so now we're just going to come back up and look at our table. So f prime of 4 is 7, g of 4 is 2, f of 4 is 3, g prime of 4 is 6, and then we'll divide this by g of 4 squared. G of 4 is 2, so this will be divided by 2 squared. So in the end, this is equal to 14 minus 18 divided by 4, which is going to be equal to -1. So again, the big idea here, I mean, we wrote down a lot of stuff, but all we're just doing is following the formulas we know for chain rule and quotient rule, and then filling in the blanks as we need them.